It is 6:37. We're going to call this meeting of the Norton Water Sewer Commission to order. And working off the agenda, I think we should begin a little early with the superintendent updates. Mr. Frank Foley.
Sure thing.
Please and thank you. He's got a lot of stacks of paper in front
Sorry,
of him
guys. I'll leave that there.
today. Yeah. First stack first.
All right, that one there. We'll start off with the easy stuff. It's renewal time for the withdrawal permits. There was an error that has been caught that happened back in 2009, back when Dwayne Knapp was superintendent. After looking over the paperwork, I believe it was an error by a slip of the finger and pushing the wrong digit and submitting it. It wasn't caught until now, obviously with the spotlight on Norton. So there's a few other things that they're asking for if we want to move forward with a higher amount that as far as what our withdrawal permit currently has, or even if we want to stay at the existing because of the error that they found. I've reached out to Weston and Sampson for a little assistance on this. They've looked over the plan. What they're asking for here is actually pretty involved, and we have a very short window to get it in. July 29th, I believe, is the deadline. I believe, so as I get the nod from the boss over here. So there is a fee involved with that, of course. That number is $17,600.
Oh, for what? For what?
I could read through everything, but you probably
No,
thumb
it's
through it
all right.
quicker
You want
if
me
you'd
to
like
give
to.
you a
We can
quick
get
and
it-
dirty?
Yeah.
So this is the whole, we have to prove some information with the watersheds. It's a little different on the permitting stuff now. I don't know if you've started going through it. But there's all this sub-basin and we have to prove that you're putting a lot back via your septic systems. So
Yeah.
we have to kind of deal with that issue. One of the big things is the conservation plan that we have to prepare because that, I don't think Norton ever prepared that. So there's also
Just a program?
well, have you seen, it's kind of like a standard DEP item. It's like 20 pages long. It's like fill in the blank and add attachments kind of thing. So we have stuff we've used before, but we have to work with Frank to make it pertinent to Norton. So it's possible that if DEP doesn't drag their feet as they often do with these things, that it won't be that much money, but that's kind of the conservative estimate because sometimes
Is this
DEP
17
goes
grand
back and forth
for you guys to prepare this, or 17 grand for?
for us to
DEP.
prepare it. Yeah. If you want, we could do it on a time basis, and that way, you know, we only charge you for what we bill, and we can say not to exceed 17.6. If you feel more comfortable with that than a lump sum. And that way, like I said, if we don't need all that money, then we don't bill you.
I gotta think, Barbara, that you arrived at the figure you have by using your experience in other applications,
Right.
the time that your people are gonna take. So it's not the holy cow at your figure.
Right.
It's just the, man, when is
No, I
when is
know.
it gonna stop?
I know.
So no, I think I can only speak for myself, but I think you're probably accurate in your assessment of what it's going to take to do it because you've done these for numerous other towns.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't go crazy on that one. I'm just, if you can, in your usual detail-oriented way, get the whole ball of wax, slide it over there, and say, please take this. I think that's the best way to go.
What's the delta, high versus low? What do you have now versus what did you have?
We
It's
are permitted for 1.85 MGD. The error was made and it was put in as 1.86 MGD. So you're looking at 100,000 gallons. There's no way anybody, even Dwayne, would have asked for such a minuscule amount. It has no effect on anything from, even if it was well specific, that's a number that just doesn't work. And the process to go and have the actual rate changed is a lot more involved than it is just the renewal. So it was an error, it wasn't caught. Maybe they still would make us jump through the hoops that they are now, just as normal protocol, but we don't have that answer.
Why don't we just keep it the way it is? It's only 100,000 gallons.
So, no, it's
You've got to get that.
most of the
You're
work.
increasing it, right?
Yeah.
If you do that, you're increasing your.
So
It's a
draw.
regardless
renewal.
whether this is a number issue or not, we've got to pay this anyways.
Yeah, it's most of this work has to get done anyways. It doesn't have a lot to do. That's with the volume.
Right,
Yeah,
right. The number
that's
isn't
part of
isn't
it.
important.
But
The difference in numbers has to be,
yeah, everybody in the basin is renewing their permits if they have a permit. If you just have a registration, then you don't have to deal with this.
And a couple of the issues are, a few of the wells are permitted and registered. A few of them are permitted, and I think one is just registered.
Yeah.
So there's other steps that are involved. It's not just filling out this paperwork. It's going back and finding out why it wasn't done at that time, what we need to do to correct it, to get everything where it needs to be, on top of the, the wetland model. They look for, different layers of soil, the permeable layer. It's like this. So how it got there and how they expect communities to be able to move forward within a month is kind of extraordinary.
We can ask for an
An
extension.
I saw
So
that, yeah.
Well, if you think it's doable, it's obviously,
yeah, we're definitely gonna shoot for it.
Yeah.
But some of it we gotta ask for help from these guys
Right.
too. So
Right.
and they've got their plates full.
Well, yeah,
Sure.
I mean, there's just concerns that there might be some numbers that we can't readily come up with,
yep,
and, that could delay the process, or possibly could just be omitted from the process if we're allowed a waiver, for wells that weren't done a certain way at a certain time because of the age of the well.
right,
This is all stuff that you'll find out moving forward. And I
okay,
think it's all gonna depend on who looks at the paperwork,
At DEP. Yeah.
because this wasn't found, a few times now. It's 2009 is when they were, hey, look, you guys had an error. Gee, thanks. So. Just the
well,
way
good
it
good
rolls
work,
around
and
here.
whoever shook it out, it's good we found it now, and,
It needs to get
Will.
corrected regardless
Yeah.
of if it was an error purposely or accident. But we need
I'll
to go
bet you
back.
I'll bet you a cup of coffee it was literally a typo.
Yeah,
Because it doesn't make any
probably.
sense. If it was on purpose, it would be much more substantial.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody was reaching for anything. This was just whatever. And hey,
Right. Is what it is, and regardless, we still need that permit
Right.
renewed, so that's one.
good.
You wanna look at any of that there?
You're gonna make me throw up?
How many cannolis did you have?
No way I can read this. All right. Can I discuss the font?
I don't know if we can change that.
You can't change the font?
Oh, we can. Yeah, I have a problem with the font too, but
I can't read it. I can't. Can I have the glasses?
No, change font.
You can clean these?
I bet you a cup of coffee you can't. I think they're scratched. Give me that thing.
Barbara, is all this coming out of the swimming process? All these
Yes.
requirements?
yep.
The Sustainable Water Management Initiative?
Yeah,
I've heard
it
of
was, you were supposed to renew, I think, in 2015, and they delayed everybody in the basin, so now they're doing it now. So,
So,
No,
I don't
we're
get
ready.
involved in this that often over there, so, I mean, I hear talking about it, so my boss takes care of all that stuff, so I'm not really privy on a lot of this stuff. I've heard of it, obviously, so I don't know if we're going through the permitting process now. or
do
if we-
you some of your sources are permitted and not registered, or you're not sure?
I'd have to
It-
check. I
it-
can find out. I mean, we've got the two basins, the 10 mile and the.
Are your wells
Fine.
really old?
Well, I mean, no, most of them are newer. Well, newer, in the 80s, early 80s.
That might be, you might be
That's what it is.
registered and not permitted, so you might not have to deal
Yeah.
with
Everything
this.
else-
I'm okay with the font through the dust and the crud on my glasses. It helped me to
Sorry, you cannot
filter
read
out
that.
the font. So I think, as the primary motion maker, I would ask that you move that we allow Frank to sign that scope of services with Weston and Sampson to prepare and submit said
You wanna see
application.
my copy? You got it?
No, I'll read this, damn it. I'd like to make a motion to have our interim boss down here to sign the Water Management Act permit assistance order to complete response. Weston and Sampson in the amount of
17.6.
$17,600.
It's on the back of the first page, I think. Or there you
Yep,
go.
$17,600.
You got it. So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Right. Please sign that, so
Sign away, my friend. Make sure you put your name, no one else's.
Are you sure?
Yours.
and is there a feeling for the back and forth with the DEP? We're saying if they get right on it, maybe it doesn't get as painful, or like I'm understanding there's probably a review process.
Right.
As they're short-staffed and we're headed into summer and whatnot, does that prolong the agony and make your work harder, or?
So as long as we get what they requested in by the deadline, yeah, that's part of the issue is it could sit with them for a month or so and
Who are you
then,
dealing with over there on this?
I think it's Michelle. I know Dwayne Levangie heads it up, but, I forget her last name. But
Okay.
usually it's Michelle.
We expecting someone?
That is the flushing.
Could be flushing
Okay.
people.
You want to join them?
No, that's tomorrow night for me.
Well, that would terminate the meeting because we'd lose the quorum.
That's true.
TV would have.
No, that's tomorrow night for
What a
me.
shame that would be.
You got a lot of paperwork over there.
I do. It's a little bit of everything mixed together. We'll be updating the permitting for the radios that we have. And unfortunately, the permit is going to have to overlap the new permit that we're going to need for the new style SCADA radios at the treatment plant. So it's very difficult to get these licenses, so I've been told by Paul Ouellette at Harbor Controls, never let one go, because you can always keep it as a backup.
Sure.
These radios that we have at a pretty decent wattage for getting the distance out, where they've really limited down what you're allowed now. So that's going to be a charge. There is a small amount of concern, and Rose is doing some homework looking into how it was paid for last time, because now they no longer accept checks or money orders as forms of payment. And as a small department, we don't have a credit card. So there's no transfer there right now, so
So who does this get paid to?
FCC.
Th-
Oh yeah, I know. I started looking into it last week, looking online at what's involved with the permitting, and that's in big bold print right now. That,
No municipal
no-
checks.
No checks, money orders. Mhm. So everybody's
They
going.
expect a
going-
pickup truck load of nickels?
Maybe, we could probably do that.
You know?
So we're gonna dig up some paperwork on how it was done last time, and if it's exactly the same, we're gonna go through and submit it the same way.
How often do you have to renew that? Is that a yearly renewal?
I do not believe that is yearly.
What about, I mean, help me with my limited understanding of this. We couldn't get like a cashier's check from the account? Is it water or sewer?
It's probably
It's
both.
actually both.
Both
Okay,
Because
so,
we split the cost, but
All
either
right.
way, we could make up that in-house.
yeah,
I'm gonna reach out to them via phone and see if I can actually get a live person
sure.
and see, what do other entities do that don't have access to a credit card.
Yep.
I mean, it sounds foolish that the water and sewer department or the
Well,
town doesn't have a card. I mean,
as-
we've had one in the past.
Yeah, as an outsider, I think people would look at the possibility for misappropriations. I'm
Sure.
not saying that's what I would think, but I just looked at as a person on the outside. It might lend itself to that in certain departments and situations. So I get that, but in this day and age, we can do a wire transfer. We can do a bank check, a certified bank check. There's all kinds of financial instruments we can have our bank provide. So
Yeah, there's gotta be a
they
specific
can do the
reason.
secret handshake and say the funds are here. You can have them.
Right. I mean,
No, is this for just the SCADA, or is this?
these are the SCADA radios.
No.
We have two right now.
What do they do? I'm not sure what.
Those are what transmit the calls from the stations to the repeater, which then goes to the Cottage Street
We
computer.
own
which
we own a
generates
band
the
in that, is what
alarms.
I'm understanding, right? So we have a frequency.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
So you
basically
get your
like
own-
a CB radio.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's
you run on a certain channel at a certain wattage, and you can transmit and talk to
it's like the
your
police.
antennas.
It's the police and fire frequency, right? It's like an 800
right. There's a
megahertz
band
or something. Yeah.
Isn't it
Yeah.
a timing issue? So you have to pay for this because you need a renewal on this, and then the other one will start while that is
Correct.
still active.
What
So
does the
it's
police
kind
and
of a
fire
bad-
do? They're going to be in the same boat as
I'm
us,
sure they are.
unless that's what they're passing the boot around for.
We may have to do it. It's an option.
Oh, Bishop.
I'm sure they're making it sound
Thank
a little
God
more
you
difficult
showed
than
up.
it is, so hopefully that's the case and it will become an issue prior to, the expiration of that permit.
This is the only other option that we have. I mean, there's no Verizon lines. Not that would cost $1 million.
No, we actually have one telephone line at one of the sewer stations and it's been extremely problematic.
Yeah.
And we look forward
Yep.
to that going
No,
away.
Yep, that we did too. And
Right.
it was we went all radio.
Right.
You've got it, right? You've got the same. You can do calling all cars, so you get
Yeah,
on
we
the,
got
you get on the
those-
base station and hit everybody.
What do you call those antennas? Yahoo antennas or whatever. They're called? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
That's what we got at our stations, and then we got the repeater on the
Right.
on the tower.
Yeah.
Right. Basically
Well,
all the same
Yeah,
telemetry, just
Right.
different age. And that actually, because there's been some problems with that band being close to other ones, and it wasn't specific for what it's doing now, you get some interference. There's some shortwave radios that cause problems. There's,
Yep.
a couple other things. You get some helicopters and stuff flying over for an emergency.
Oh.
You can have some issues with your SCADA system. So the new band that is going to be going into the treatment plant and updating what we have now is actually a dedicated SCADA band. It's supposed to run at some other frequency that nobody else is there, for now anyway. So,
Nice.
Yeah, because that's what we need. We
right.
need something
you,
that's
you want something
yeah.
that's not going to fail or have as many problems as we have with our old system now. Knock on wood, it's still going, and it's much better than dial-up or anything that we've had in the past. So it's moving in the right direction, but
They're pretty reliable. And the way back we had our own frequency for our construction radios, and with the transmitter and whatnot mounted in the truck, it's awesome.
right. There's
So-
the problem with that is if it doesn't stay broken, you can't fix it. So it'll be out for 4 or 5 hours at a night. You lose control over one of your stations. Now you have to go physically sit there.
Right.
7 o'clock rolls around, up comes the sun, and everything's back to normal. It's not worth calling somebody in because they're not going to find the issue.
Right.
So we've figured out by unplugging them, leave them, let them power off
You
for
got
a
it.
while. We've had some radios that have come back,
Yep.
and we keep a couple spares on the shelf for the ones that we have now, just in case there is unfortunately a failure.
that seems kind of antiquated, don't you? Doesn't it?
It's better than smoke signals.
No, I understand that, but I mean, there's no other options out there. Have they looked into the other options?
No,
or-
there is.
There-
We're updating.
That's
It's
the
just a
next
bad
one.
timing thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
The newer system will be a dedicated frequency.
okay,
It'll work. It's gonna be slow transition to change over, as some of it will be covered under the treatment plant, some of it will come from inside funding as far as for the sewer stations that aren't involved.
okay,
And it's a process. You know, you can't
Yep.
use the same antennas, you can't use the same poles, cabling. So there's a process involved at each facility to upgrade to the new.
okay,
So we have to have both operable for a period of time until we can discontinue and probably retain these until we know for a fact that we don't need to renew them. But if something happened and the new skater is not as good as they say it is, we'd always have the option of unfortunately reverting back to older technology instead of sitting there and manning the stations.
well, it's good to have something to lean back on in case something goes bad. I mean,
Hopefully it never happens.
nope,
Had an update from Tyler at Weston Sampson that they may have an issue with finding T2 operators because of the stipulation that's in the paperwork from DEP for the 1 hour response time. So that limits the search area to the Norton area and the few communities around it. So that's the same issue that we're gonna run into when and if I am ever allowed to post a position, because I'm not sure if they've been created yet by the union. It's in process. So there's a few more issues concerning that. We could reach out to another company besides Weston and Sampson. I would think for the size that they are, they probably have the biggest reach in the community and all the operators. So I don't know if that's even an option. And now it comes back to staffing from in-house. And I just feel the need, if we're building the station, we should be able to run the station. It should not be something that we're looking, to sub out.
Right.
Definitely not for a permanent solution. One of the other things I spoke with Tyler about is a few other different options. I don't know if they're good or bad, but there's the possibility of asking for emergency feeds from Attleboro or Mansfield for times that we cannot staff the plant. I don't know how that's gonna work with DEP, with multiple municipal agencies running together as far as sampling and water quality
chemistry,
issues
right.
going back and forth.
Little things.
I don't see that
pH.
as a great option. I see that as a last resort.
Yeah.
But it has to be on the table. I'm gonna be reaching out this week to see if they're even capable of supplying any amounts of water. We've done it for small amounts each way in the past for small emergencies, leaks and repairs and stuff like that, but never for a length of time. I don't know what the options would be other than, looking at it as it's just an emergency basis and we should leave it that way if we can't find operators. It's getting down to crunch time. And I know there's some work that needs to be done from town hall to move it forward before it can even make it in the paper. But that's where we're at now.
isn't
It's
there a
getting scary.
program, WAR, I think it's called, or something like that?
Oh, the Warren program?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Isn't
it's to kind of share things under time of emergency.
would that be, or just emergency situations? I mean, because this is technically gonna be an emergency if we can't run a plant.
Right.
We don't have the personnel.
It's turning
I wonder
into
if we
one.
could beg, borrow, and steal people that are licensed, and I know it's something, maybe it's something to look into.
It's possible. I mean,
I don't think have you ever heard of that before?
No, I
Because
have
then you're
not.
not probably part of it. Well, we're not either, but
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just, it was at a class and I had heard about it. And I didn't know if that was what does that stand for? Warn?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't either, but I remember
It
that.
was all based on the 9/11
Yep.
security stuff, so that people would share stuff if there was
Yeah,
a.
whether it be people,
issue.
I'm not sure if it's even people. I think it was just,
It's
equipment and stuff like-
chemicals,
yeah.
equipment, kind of
Right.
everything. I think.
but maybe by now, maybe they have that, maybe it's a possibility, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth looking into. I mean, if it's something that we need to join to be part of that and have that option, I think we're all for that. We have stuff that we can lend out, you know, if it's a beg, borrow, and steal type deal.
Well, I know Mansfield's gonna have to
we got.
lean on you in June,
Right, for a short period of time,
hmm
maybe.
if it's even a possibility now, right?
We shall see.
That'd be big for us. We couldn't do the job without it.
Right. I mean, we have options. Derek, myself were talking today at the plant, and unfortunately, we had come up with the first initial phase was possibly to valve off the town and have a small section fed by one of the other intermunicipal connections that we have. The problem being, if we valve off what would be the most logical street, which would be Mansfield Ave, we lose our 3 million gallon storage tank, which we want that in the mix
Bit of a problem,
as an
yeah.
emergency. Now, the other option that he and I had come up with was to potentially run off of that plant, the 3 million storage, for a shift, or possibly even 2, depending on staffing, and then possibly fill that from Mansfield, depending on if they have water available, how long it's gonna take to fill the tank, how much we use. There's quite a few things that we've been throwing around. Nothing really kinda just pops out and says this is the right answer, other than staff. And it comes down to paying people.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the bottom line.
Mhm.
Whether it's our own staff or
Yeah,
or if
exactly.
we can even get
Either
other
way,
people,
right.
yeah.
Right, I mean, unfortunately, this plant has been talked about for a long time, and that's all that was done. I mean, there's other steps that probably should have been taken prior to where we are now. We can't change that, we gotta deal with what we have. So, I think Barbara was working on the written contract for phase 1 and 2, for the design.
For the wells.
At wells 5
Yep.
and 6.
We should have that for the next meeting.
That's, the biggest step in the right direction there.
Wrote it on you.
All right, jumping over to something else.
This is new.
You're supposed to pay for that.
You got the little magnet off so it didn't beep it going out the store. You
Nothing.
did,
I'm pretty quick when I want it.
you did a heck of a job. You got the quick release thing, right? You
I
worked
did.
in retail for a while.
That little snapper,
Yeah.
you took it right off.
Critical, critical.
Over to the Pine Street Water Main project. I know we had touched on this at the meeting we had here with Mark Abrams. After Rose spent a little bit of time, because the numbers just weren't working, she went back and looked at some of the appropriations for payments that are going to be coming up for both short-term and long-term. It appears 1.8 million of the 2.7 million for Pine Street has already been borrowed.
Whoa,
Mhm.
that wasn't the number that Rose showed us last week.
Okay. So the
She's already
concern,
borrowed that?
apparently so, that's what we see.
Long-term?
I couldn't answer that. What,
Even short-term would be
right.
way too much.
What Rose and I quickly discussed, and unfortunately she was not even here today, she has some vacation time to use, is that the first scheduled payment to go back on that is actually coming up in October. So we need to decide if we're gonna fast track that project and move it forward, or if we could just punt and send the money back and deal with that at a later date.
Well, there's probably penalties.
There's penalties, yeah.
To do that. When we talked about this last week, I thought there was kind of general consensus that of the 2 water main jobs, Home Street is much preferred to get done now, this year. And that Pine Street isn't a bad idea to delay it a little bit, given the other work that's going to go on West Main.
Right.
Because now we have potentially traffic or routing traffic issues.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll use Pine Street.
Correct.
Right, and it may be better to, keep people moving rather than
Right,
not moving.
Right, instead of pushing them further and further away on their detours.
Right,
And the scope of work here is, it's involved, there's a lot of services there. It's not that the excavation's gonna be difficult, it's not that there's gonna be a lot of stuff in the way. There's just a decent amount of work in that span. And just like we nail on it, it's a traffic issue that it comes down to.
correct.
So I guess the board kind of needs to decide if we should hold on to that and delay, or if we should send it back and pay the penalty. And I'm sure you need some numbers on that, which unfortunately I don't think we're gonna have right now. I mean, I think this is just a general, what are your thoughts?
The primary concern is the water quality, and then a secondary concern is the financial issues. So I think, again, speaking for myself, I think that, was that an 8-inch cast iron main or a 6-inch cast iron main?
Six.
Yeah.
So it's a
Six down
little
there.
old cast iron
It is
main,
very
Yeah.
old. It's one of the oldest in town.
which is
unfortunately.
why we nudged it ahead for a
Yeah.
replacement or an
Yeah.
upgrade. And if it was good when we made the decision to do it, it's still good.
Mhm.
I think we need to move ahead and do it. And
I totally agree with that.
yeah, and it doesn't. I don't think it poses such a problem that it would make sense to take a hit financially and kick it off for 3 years and then do it. It's just that's not
Right.
no,
That's
not what we're up
Right.
to.
My concern was seeing what the new project came in at with the, the contractors' bids being as close as they were and as elevated as they were. That would be a concern here, I
Correct.
think, as well.
There's not a lot of contractors competing for work these days.
Right.
Right.
We just saw another project on the Cape that's $7-8 million worth of sewer work. They had 4 bidders. So we're starting to see, the Easton had 4 bidders on their last sewer job, a $7 million job.
Well, you could put off bidding until November, December, and then you'll probably get some good prices because people's book isn't full for next
For
year.
next year.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing a job in Chauncey Street. We only got three
Wow.
bidders.
What is going on? I mean, these jobs used to see 7, 8, 9 bidders. Are there
No
that
one's-
few
no one's
companies?
Yeah.
No one's starving.
It's amazing, because obviously the supply and demand prices are going up. We saw it with West Main, obviously.
Making America great again.
We're making it expensive again. No, seriously, it's,
It's
how do you
yeah.
budget?
Right. Right.
Yeah, we're
Very
seeing projects that are coming in, 50, 60, 100% higher than the estimates. This is kind of like it was back in the 80s when the Massachusetts Miracle was going on.
And we had the same issue with the bids that we had. I remember I was telling you over the bridge job that we're going to do.
Yeah,
We had to rebid it, and it doubled. It went to 70 grand. Now it's the lowest bidder we got was like 138.
Wow.
Yep, and that's just slip lining,
Wow.
and we're paying to. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it
Right
is
now, it's
crazy.
crazy.
I don't know. Is the bottom going to fall out, or is it just a timing issue with everybody so busy right now
Right.
for this year? I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I don't think it'll be any worse if you bid it in.
See, that's
November.
what I wondered too.
Mhm.
Is it going to be? But how will you know?
I mean, most of these contracts aren't more than 1 year, are they?
Right.
So.
Yeah, for the most part.
In my gut feel, I mean, I think the Pine Street project is not so ever-loving long that it would be a giant project for a giant contractor. It's probably a small to mid-size
Right.
contract for a mid to large contractor. So
Right.
as they finish up their annual installations, I gotta think the estimators would be told at the end of the year that, hey, get a couple of gimmies for the spring and
Right.
we could be one of them. That's what I think we might have missed in the timing of the sewer project is it's a little bit late to the party, and through no fault of anybody's, it's just how everything shook out.
Yeah.
So I think if and it might not be a perfect fit for anybody, and we might still see a high price, but I think we have a better chance of seeing people with a couple of crews available to pick up a couple things and really hit it in the spring,
Yeah.
rather than trying to do it mid-season where people are already committed, and even if they wanted it, they couldn't jump over there. So they've got their 5-mile jobs and 3-mile jobs, and they don't want to mess around with Pine Street. Well, they can't. They flat out can't.
Yeah.
can't support it, not gonna do it.
Okay, so you recommend October, November for
I,
putting out?
I think that's
Yeah.
the best way to attack it now, and again, I don't
We get a good chunk of the work done on West Main.
Right.
get by that
It should be
area
out of that corner.
as we're
Right.
headed out towards completion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying do whatever we have to do to get that in, but that's a relatively important. If we can get that cast iron main
Right.
out of circulation, it's going to improve that area, and that's really what we're going for with the treatment plant. So
Right.
it doesn't make sense to be purifying water and then
Can't get it out.
polluting it in the lines. So.
Right.
And the inside of that thing is like.
Oh, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
down, it's down to
It's
2 or
got
3
the
inches. Right.
hardening of the arteries
Yep,
for
definitely.
what 100 years the pipe is or something.
Right.
That's a little old pipe.
Mm-hmm.
I've been told. I think it's
Yeah, it's
It's-
an old
it's-
pipe.
an old pipe.
Well, so I guess sometimes you refer to new pipes as something done in the last 20 years. Is considered a new pipe.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
about
Yeah.
right. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cement
Yeah, as
lined.
long as they're
Yeah,
in the
if it's got
right
cement, that's all
soil,
that
they
matters.
can last for
Right.
100 years
Yeah.
or
And
more.
and line.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right.
So
Okay.
So I guess the necessity of the mother of invention, is that the term?
I like that.
I think we gotta do it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we also, since we need to have better communication with town hall with regard to financing some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, usually you would think a project like this that wouldn't go to long-term, you go to short-term during construction. And obviously, we've never even provided a bid opening date.
Well, he's not sure whether it's going to short or long
Right.
term.
I have
so-
written down after when we spoke with Rose that the is scheduled for short term and to roll into long term. So
So we don't know what
yeah.
October
What
means,
frequency is
right?
Right.
If that's when it goes to short term, then it's not as bad.
That's correct.
Right.
If that's the game plan, then
Right.
it
That's not
doesn't.
horrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if it's only in the queue until then obviously it's fine.
Right.
Because typically this is $2.7 million appropriation, right?
Yep.
Correct.
So given that, it can't possibly be long-term stuff, because you do the whole job at once. You wouldn't borrow long-term 1.8 and then borrow 900 some other time.
Okay.
So it has to be short-term money.
Okay.
So,
you don't want to do it over 3 summers.
no, not this one.
Okay.
Maybe another project, but not
Just
this,
checking.
not appropriate for this one.
Yeah.
This was the agreement.
So back to
Yep,
that,
yep.
we need to let Mark know,
Right.
so we can bring
Where
that
that's gonna
forward
fit. Right.
a little bit. We can
Yeah, we can.
take care of that, Frank.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was one that you actually missed. You were out that day, I believe. That's
Oh,
the contract.
Need me to sign it?
There are some signatures needed.
Oh, you haven't signed this? Oh, has he signed this?
Yes, up top there.
Let me sign it first and then ask what it's all about.
Yeah, that's the way it works. It's gotta be good if Luke signed it.
I trust my Mr. President.
See?
He's making Norton great again.
Depends who you ask, apparently.
Well, yeah. I steer clear of anyone with coveralls on.
How are you gonna go after that remark? Thank you, sir. Change order, treatment plant. I don't know if anybody else wants to touch on this before I dig into it. We have some better answers
You
for
want me
that.
to?
Sure.
Okay. So this is our first change order. So it does. We have what we typically do with treatment plants is we gather up a bunch of proposed change orders before we put the paperwork together for a change order. So so there are like, I don't know, 11 items in this. The bulk of it Frank kind of already referred to is the SCADA work. And DEP has actually committed that they're gonna, they're gonna fund this change order fully, so it includes both sewer and water. So they, even though it's a drinking water SRF program, they are gonna fund the SCADA work for the sewer stations. So,
Under the water loan?
yes. So the total amount is $96,000. Of that, about 50,000 is the SCADA work. The other work is related to structural changes to the roof, beefing that design up. That's pretty much, that's another 20,000. The fire department requested a new location for fire protection piping, so that's about $2,700.
What are they putting another hydrant in?
No, it was for the hydrant that enters the building. They wanted it, I believe, on a certain side of the building, so we had to swap locations, so it meant there was more piping to run to the fire department Siamese connection for the building. So SRF allots you 5% for change orders, so, you know, this is about 1% now.
Okay.
So. Do you want any more detail than that, or is that good?
So, can you separate the water versus sewer so that the sewer enterprise pays will?
Yep, they're separated.
Okay.
Yep. So there's, the sewer portion is 25,000 and the water is 24. That's detailed here, so Rose can handle that.
What, this is just a curiosity question, this truss angle
Yep.
at the edge of the roof to provide support, why do we need that?
So that was something we added to our design that wasn't in the original design.
Okay.
So you didn't pay for it under the originally bid documents.
Oh, okay, okay, just curious,
Yeah.
that was just a curiosity thing. Easy to me.
So this covers it, change orders through what date, Barb?
I don't know if they're talking about any more, but I think it's pretty much current.
Okay.
Do we need to sign this at all, these change orders? I'm not privy to these, so I just,
My understanding is I would have both Frank and Luke sign it under the owner,
okay,
because Luke serves a couple positions as the owner's project manager, as the chair, and then Frank as, so if you can, maybe we'll leave you more space next time on that owner line.
kind of feel a little jilted, but whatever.
We can,
You can.
yeah,
we'll
you
put
can
a
sign
line
it
on
too
for
if you want. Yeah.
We're not gonna leave you out. And when the town meeting comes up around, I'll give you the microphone when people start attacking, and you can.
That
just,
sounds good. I'll make sure that I have all the numbers right at my
You
fingertips
can
when,
chit chat. Well, the numbers you have, they're gonna ask for different numbers.
That's
You know
true.
how this works.
That's true.
They get the
Do
printout
you-
and they
That's true.
ask the 5 numbers that you don't have. That's just how it goes.
Do you want us to include spaces for all four of
I
you?
was-
No.
I'm just joking.
Okay.
I'm just- please.
checking.
That's just,
just
the,
joking.
that's just the bishop trying to
Yeah, just-
trying to do something.
Just a little levity.
Okay.
pass the time. Fran likes the levity.
Thank
He
you.
doesn't get this at any town he works for.
And just one last update. The
Wow, all that paperwork and you got one more thing left?
well, yeah, I guess
So
throw it away.
encourage him. He's not done. He can come up with 3 or 4 more.
There's plenty more here. Lead and copper sample letters went out to remind our special locations that they will be receiving the bottles
You're doing a
next
full round?
Monday. We always do a full round. We're not privy to the reduced monitoring.
No, we are too. We gotta do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have 60 letters that went out, plus the attend schools and daycares and 3 alternates, so. Letters went out today, we'll drop the bottles off Monday, and hopefully majority of them come back in Tuesday like they're supposed to.
Good. Good.
That's all I got.
Good
I'm done.
work.
That
What
wasn't
are you,
enough?
what are you running your PHs at now?
They are 7, 8 to 8.
They're still up-
Is
they're
the
still up?
range that we're
Yep.
keeping
Yep.
them at
I
as
know,
we
that's what they
have
wanted.
to.
Right,
It's not doing anything, and no wonders for the water quality, but it's where they tell us we need to be.
yep,
Until we can prove otherwise, when the plant goes online, then we'll deal with that then.
yep, good. Thanks, Frank.
No problem.
So it's just that one signature page?
Yep.
That is what I found, yes.
This shows.
That's,
Yep.
That is,
well, I can
you could,
take it back to,
right.
so, we got, yep, we're good. Excellent.
I think, yeah, I buried mine. We're gonna go ahead to Weston and Sampson, it's okay. I have a bunch of them in here.
Oh, you did?
You're signing them.
Yeah,
So I can do a sewer update.
that'd be great.
So, obviously, since the last time we met, we had the town meeting. And, got the additional monies voted to move forward with the project, the West Main Street sewer project. We've done the evaluation of bids. As you were aware, we had the bid opening before, so we know we have the 3 bidders. So we've done the evaluations, and we've actually submitted our recommendation to the commission to award to the low bidder, John Rockio Corporation, for their bid. The next step with that would be to issue a letter of intent to award to the contractor.
Peter.
Hi, Pete.
Hey,
How we doing, Peter?
Doing good. Doing good. Hey, look in Steve in the game.
Hiya, kiddo.
Right.
Thanks for that, buddy.
So, the next step with our recommendation would be for you guys to vote for a letter, to issue a letter of intent to award. There's still a process that has to happen. So one thing, it would be a letter signed
That is-
by Frank
That
as
is this.
representative of the owner, and then Weston Sampson would start the process with the contracts and the insurance and making sure that everything is in order. And that's also, we've got to get that to SRF. SRF needs to know that you intend to award as part of the process for their authorization to award. So there's still several steps to take with that process. So that's something that they should vote, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
For the contractor and the amount.
Yep.
Do you wanna take a swing at that?
To vote to approve it?
You want me to hold it over here?
No, God, no, the font's gonna kill me.
How's the font, okay?
Like to, this is much better.
Uh-huh.
Vote to approve, I'm sorry, do you wanna still go?
No, I'm saying it's sewer, that's why it's the font.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's definitely what it is.
We do have a blast.
Actually, I changed the font. I'll take credit for that.
Vote to,
Nice job, Frank.
vote to approve to award the contract for the West Main Street Sewer Extension Project. Number 4421, you got that, Pete? To John Rockio of John Rockio Corp. For the amount of $4,199,465 and 10 cents.
I got the dime,
Okay.
as stated.
As stated in this letter.
Excellent.
All right.
So moved, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes. We're gonna ask Frank to sign that. And
Want to sign that again?
keep
do
the
that.
wheels turning.
So just update on other things. We are still in hot pursuit of the Mass DOT permit so that we can actually
Right.
move forward with this. Actually met with with Rockio today before this meeting, just to kind of introduce ourselves and talk about a few things. They definitely expressed some concerns over not having a permit yet, which is something that we do need to get before they'll probably process their paperwork. 'Cause they want to
Where are
make
they on
sure
that? Have they told you where they're at?
So we got an email today from them with their final comments, and if we address those, they will issue the permit. So we'll get those addressed tomorrow. So hopefully, this is their last round
Okay,
of
good.
comments, and that we will be moving forward with that.
Good.
The Housing Authority, there's two things with that. We have the revised agreement based on the new letter that we got from the Housing Authority with the increased funding and their commitment to add additional funding based on the increased pricing. So Fran, you're helping with the wording on that. And then secondly is we still need the easement. So Joe Cove is working with them on the easement deed. There was something today I saw on that. I was hoping it was gonna be that it's all set, but it's
They were
not
bouncing
all
back
set
and
yet.
forth
They had some
that-
more comments.
There's a new player here. People in Boston have entered into the foray.
As
Warriors,
in Coleman and Page,
DHCD.
DHCD.
Yeah, they've now entered into the
Exceptional.
discussion.
At the 11th hour, we
I
get
didn't think there was anyone else.
another mouthpiece, right? How many more people can come into this?
There must be some
So-
attorney type joke out there about this, but I
So the information is.
There's a
can't
host
come
of
up
them.
with it.
Hopefully it's not a big deal. It's just, Joe's gonna work it out. I'll talk to Joe tomorrow.
Well,
But
if
we need-
I understood Joe speak at the end of
Yeah.
his email was that one of the things that they wanted was not able to happen because one state quasi entity cannot be
It's about,
It's Groundhog
sued-
Day. We're back to the beginning.
sued
His
by
issue
another
at the very
one?
beginning.
yeah, limiting each other's liability. You can't do it.
It's right. Each one is held harmless from the other one at our inception. So, as the state, DHCD, the town,
And that's why both Manugian and Joe agreed to pull it from the original agreement.
DHCD though.
That's correct. So they've stepped it up to them,
All right,
and they've added some potential, but it's probably gonna be pulled out.
good.
Hopefully we can get that resolved. We already have everything we need from Wheaton. We have had that for a while. So, because we need easements
That's
for
good,
both
right.
Housing Authority and Wheaton in order to be able to do the work. Once we have both of those in place, we can get, Joe can issue the certificate as to title, which is another thing for the SRF funding. So between the state highway permit and the certificate of title, we're not gonna be able to move forward with award of the contract until we have those pieces in place. So another thing, so the next steps going forward here, we need to send out building questionnaires to the properties along the sewer line.
Right.
And offer to, give them a form that they fill out with where they would want their sewer connection, but more importantly, offer them assistance in figuring
Where
out.
theirs
Most
is.
people aren't gonna know what to
Sure.
do on some well. So we have a form that we used before, for the people on Plain Street when we did the town center sewer, that we will issue. The other thing that comes into play there is what we've talked about before is some kind of public outreach. And if we want to invite these residents to a meeting and give them an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the project and what's gonna happen. I'm sure they have a lot of questions.
I think it's a good idea.
So I think this would be the time to do, while you're doing a mailing, a direct mailing to everyone, to send them an invitation to that meeting.
It's a good idea.
You know what? I think in his absence, we should nominate Scott as the neighborhood liaison,
Liaison?
so he
Yeah.
can directly respond to any questions
I
anybody
second
else
that.
would have. I don't know his cell phone, but please call the office and
I
ask
got
for
it.
Scott Hollerhead.
I got it, we can put it right on the phone, right now.
That's what we need to do, because we need a contact person, and Scott's a heck of a talker.
So we will do that.
We'll get him to a meeting sooner or later.
Oh my God.
Put me on TV, man, it's only gonna get better.
So you're gonna try to pick a date at this point, Steve?
So, I do want to pick a date. I am struggling with trying to move at the right speed, because I don't think we should have the meeting before we have the state highway permit and the contractor on board or in a position to sign the contract. But I don't want to push this out and miss June.
I understand your desire for the organization and the appropriate channels, but I'm gonna go a little cowboy here and say, the people, let me rephrase. Most of the times when we get yelled at, it's from not informing people early enough.
Yeah.
So if I can jump up and say, bring them in, they have a sewer project at some point going in front of their properties, the information is the same, and if it gets kicked a month or 6 weeks, I'm okay with that. So I think, whatever you think, I don't know if it's our next meeting or the meeting after that. Sooner is better for these things, because.
How about June 11th?
Good man. So
Which is the date
Which
for the
would be
next commission?
meeting, I think. the next-
yeah, that feels
Yeah,
like a
it's the
Tuesday.
second
It's the second
Tuesday.
Tuesday, so
Yeah.
let's go on that one.
But would you do
So-
it, not here though, right? Would you do it
I
somewhere
would
else?
offer- I would
You
suggest
need
the
time to
library.
advertise and everything, so
Well-
is that too quick?
No.
No?
These
These
Okay.
notices need to go out.
This is
So
the-
notice has got to go in the mail this week.
This is May 28th.
So we've got 2 weeks now.
I mean, I know you have nothing else to do tomorrow, but why don't you just get them
Get
out?
something in the mail. Yeah, or get something, and also. in the
Only
paper.
because everybody will have, as we get into the summer, people are gonna be disappearing for
Right,
vacations
that's
and
true.
Good point.
this and that, and if we can,
Get it done
even
before the
even
end
if
of
we're
June.
preemptive and the state permit drag or something, the people still need to know where their connection's gonna be. Nothing's gonna change, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, so as far as the 11th, does that, we could also do, we don't have to do it the night of a commission meeting, it could be its own meeting. So I thought that made sense to do it as the night of a meeting, you guys, and I would suggest, we did the public hearings for the CWMP at the library.
Library.
If we can see if we can get that, the room in the library, is that, and you guys can just hold your meeting at 6:30 and we can
Yep.
post the public hearing or public meeting for 7, something like that.
I think that's a good idea.
That's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll move,
We'll shoot for the 11th, in
Mhm.
case there's something going on, work around their schedule.
So post the meeting at 6:30, handle some business, public meeting on the
that'll be an
project.
agenda item at 7:00.
Okay.
Okay, good.
And we have a list of all the butters, we sent it to the assessors to confirm that we have the right information.
Okay.
They've already responded back, that we should have confirmation tomorrow, so, yeah, we'll try and get those out. So there'll be, a cover letter, Frank, I'll fine tune this, I had sent a draft of it in the email, but I'll resend that stuff, we'll need to get your signature on the cover letter. It goes on, it should come from, we'll put it on your letterhead, and send it out. So we will work to get that out, and then should, so I hadn't even thought about the paper, and our publisher, do we need to, do you wanna put it in the Sun Chronicle?
As I was sitting here, listening and thinking, as I sometimes do, I think, what do you think about a sign? Is it crazy
sign.
for us, Frank, to put a sign out on that street? Say,
But you gotta limit to the people on that street. You don't want people
we
coming
don't
from
want the
all over
whole,
town.
everybody who
saying,
reads
I
it.
think
Okay.
Don't-
Maybe the Peter channel.
Don't
Absolutely.
don't we still have the Norton Patriot? Do we still have that?
No Norton Patriot.
How long ago did they check out, Peter?
1980.
Show my age.
Where you been? Just ask Wiggins. Wiggins knows.
Yep.
I mean,
All right, so
obviously the
no-
direct
no-
mailing is
Yeah.
your best, this is the letter that goes right to them.
And you're
You
right.
can
The
post it
sign,
at
the
town
sign would be
hall.
hitting everybody, and we'd get, people who
I mean,
really
it
aren't.
doesn't fit, it's not like a
affected.
bid advertisement, it doesn't
No.
have the same requirements.
No,
It
no,
needs to
this
be
is,
posted.
We're just trying to be effective.
Oh, yeah, we wanna
We're just
people
trying to-
know that the meeting is happening.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody's watching, this recording and will hear it. There'll be a meeting on the
Yeah.
11th.
We'll bring the 5 people from TV land to the meeting. We even got the production guy going.
So, I think if we get the mailing, I don't know how many you're gonna hear about it in the Sun Chronicle.
No,
I don't know.
no, and as I see the advertising bills from the Sun Chronicle, they're not that affordable. I think it's kind of expensive to get those ads out, so the direct mailing, I think, is effective.
Post it at town hall and
Well,
like you do a bid.
Could the selectmen announce it there if they meet
Oh,
on
yeah.
Thursday?
That would be
It's
good.
part of their meeting?
Okay.
That would be
Yeah, I'll work
good.
with you on that.
I'm sure they have a bigger TV audience than we do.
Okay. Right.
well, this is really an informational meeting, right? You might want to label it as an informational.
Informational meeting, yeah, it
Okay,
does say
that's,
that, yeah.
okay, good.
Keep your eye on us, Barbara. We need all the help we can get.
Well, I just,
Yep, no, I.
then
I-
people can't
Yep.
say, well, you didn't post it.
Right, no, it's not, right.
Pete's gonna post it
They're gonna say it
anyways.
anyway.
Right.
We're gonna get the 4 critics will come out of the woodwork as they always do, and we love them. Glad they're paying attention. What else do we have?
And then the only other thing, we'll also need to have a pre-construction conference.
Okay,
Which that will be during the day. And we'll use the same list we use for the town center. Most of the people are invited to the stakeholders meeting, pretty much the same list, and the contractor, obviously.
right.
Initially, I was thinking next Friday, but I need to work with, we might put that, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, the contractor themselves are
That's
gonna
just-
be resisting if they're not
They're not gonna wanna come until.
signed, you know, if we don't have the permit in hand.
Yeah. Let me see how quickly this is coming in this week. I think for something like that, you know, it's just an email blast. It goes
Right.
out to all the departments. I think a week's notice is more than enough. If it's more than that, they're gonna forget about it anyway, so.
Good.
So if we can pull it off for next Friday, we still might try and do that if things come together quickly. So it's
Sounds good.
June 7th. So that was the tentative date. I put the email. It was
Right,
Friday,
right.
June 7th. So that's still tentative.
Okay.
And we'll work with you. Okay, I think that's what we have.
Very good.
Which probably goes into the next issue, the segue into West Main Street and the issue of sewer betterments.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time since the town assessed betterments. Last one was Winnicott, 12, 13 years ago, thereabouts. So things are different now. The last sewer project you did, the town center project, no betterments were assessed. So any of the folks that had a gravity connection on Plain Street, they are gonna pay when they tie in.
Right.
And like everybody else, you know, there's the 5-year tie-in requirement. On the betterment side, I'm not sure you really want to get into a lot of detail at this information session about betterments, but Frank is already getting questions about how much, how's it work, you know, and what decisions have been made. And this commission has not made any decisions yet with regard to the betterments, and my sense is to go into that issue in detail at that meeting, which is information about the tie-in, is probably premature, because you really haven't had a chance to deliberate on amounts, interest rates, how you're gonna assess whether you're gonna be constant principal declining interest, treat it like a mortgage, because the laws have changed, and you actually adopted changes in the general laws, I wanna say in October 2017.
Okay.
So things have changed from your rules and regs, which actually has a section on sewer assessments, dated what, 2010? Was the last time these were updated. So there's things that need to be, you've got to abide by these, as well as the cost for the project, there's a fair amount of discussion, decision need to be made. My sense is you don't wanna talk about betterments other than they can count on.
Generally,
We can talk in general terms, correct,
right.
on how it typically works. Things you can decide on as well. The new laws basically say you can stretch over 30 years instead of 20 if you wanted to. My sense is typically people don't want to stretch that over 30 years. The other thing you got to think about is that there are some properties in town that pay a connection fee when they eventually tie in, like Keith Drive,
Mm-hmm,
like Plain Street.
mm-hmm.
And what the town's rules and regs say is that you pay the connection fee based on the most recently applied sewer betterment costs. So that cost is gonna go up at some point soon with regard to West Main. And if people wait and there still is the 5-year requirement to tie in, and they might wanna tie in a little bit earlier, given the fact that the cost is gonna go up per sewer unit.
And I imagine they can even pay the betterment and hold off on the tie-in
That's correct. That's
if they
correct.
wanted to lock in that rate.
Yep, they could. So that's something that we gotta, it's not just
Yep,
appealing,
no, that's good, Fran, I hadn't thought of that.
it's not just appealing to the
Right.
people on West Main, this affects
Yeah,
others.
It's, yeah, backward and forward, all of
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
So I think that, it's probably not appropriate to discuss this after that public meeting on the
That was
11th.
here.
I would assume we should be able to talk in some detail about the assessments, protocols, how it works, interest rates, all those issues, probably on the 25th, if that's the next meeting.
11 and 14, yep.
Yep.
Good work.
That's it.
Okay.
Rate study updates. Frank, you wanna start this off, or you want me to talk about it?
It's all yours.
Oh, great.
I'm trying to keep it.
No, thank you. We had a meeting with Mark and Matt Abrahams here a week ago. Rose was there, Frank was there, and myself. The purpose of the meeting was, I'm glad that we met, because there were a fair amount of inconsistencies in some of the numbers that are reported or were reported to Mark. Information's coming from town hall, the treasurer, the accountant. Rose has information, we have information, so we could be able to compare a lot of notes and get some things that even changed a little bit tonight with regard to timing of projects. Also, the debt schedules, payments, there was an inconsistency, Mark had incorrect numbers on retained earnings, that those get straightened out. So right now, there's only a couple of things that we really need to give Mark and Matt before they can come back with some recommendations or suggestions on water rates, because it's just a water rate study. The sooner we get the information to them that they need, and by the way, right now, the only holes that we had as of a week ago were some information on added staffing
The
needed
staffing, right.
needed for the treatment plant, added power costs and chemical costs for the treatment plant. That's all they were looking for. And then
Can
they
we
could.
put a conceptual cap on those numbers?
Well, we
If you
talked-
had- Is
we
it
talked a little
2
bit.
operators you need, Frank? In your opinion, would,
I'd say
You
minimum.
really want 2 primary operators as the bare minimum,
right,
so they can, change out, cover each other when somebody has a vacation or sick day or anything
well,
like
I
that.
expect you to be able to ride around in the truck alone. You
I don't
don't
know.
need, you don't need a friend.
I don't know.
All right.
It's always better with
So
2.
we don't need 3. You can see them over there. So I'm just thinking 2,
Right.
I mean, and if we, put a number on that, I think we couldn't nail it, but I think we can get it within $10,000 and give a raise. Because we want his information so we can put out our expected rate increase, which is what people are chomping at the bit to hear. So if in the next, I don't know, 2 weeks, we do a little envelope math and
Right.
Well, we
come
need to
up
get
with what
them.
we
Right,
what
we
we
can
You know what I
do
mean?
an estimate.
That's all, because it's not gonna vary $30,000.
Right, so if
even if we are allowed the privilege to get two operators
If
from
it's 80,000 plus Benny's at 40%, you're at,
that, there you go.
yeah, and times two, so.
Twice. Yep.
So, yeah, we can generate those numbers. Barbara's already looked at the power costs, so we're gonna get that information to them. I'll get the information on the change on Pine Street, and then they're ready to go. They were looking to try to get to you as soon as June 11th, with some suggestions based on the public meeting, what's gonna go on. I think you should just focus on that issue for that
Agreed.
night, and then maybe I think Mark said he's got a problem after that though, right?
He did
Frank?
say something,
He
yes.
said he's
Golf
not
tournament.
available on the 25th.
Right,
Just
yeah.
make the meeting a different day or something, right, for when he's
Maybe
Tuesday
available?
the 25th, you like a 26th? Is there any way you can
I
see
don't
it?
know if he was available that week. I think,
Okay.
I
Oh,
think he
is
was
that
going
week
away.
is a
good.
problem?
I
Yep.
think he was here up until a certain date, and then he was away for a
I
while.
want to see it. It's good for him.
I think it was an anniversary trip or something.
All right.
Something important like that. But in any case, the bottom line is they will be ready within, he basically said, as soon as we get that information within 2 weeks,
Right.
they'll be ready to come and talk to you folks about options for rates, going forward. The one good thing that came out of the meeting was the issue of retained earnings, and that the number that was reported to him basically already included a lot of the projects that are in the queue already.
Okay.
So the towns and the departments in better shape than originally thought based on their retained earnings numbers, which is good.
Always a good answer.
Always a good answer, and it's a good thing. But there are some major expenditures coming forward. The debt service alone on the treatment plant is in excess of $600,000 a year. So probably the first several years of the project, fair amount from retained earnings would probably be needed to keep the rates fairly stable. So yes, we'll get that information to them, and anything else I forgot about it, Frank?
You covered everything.
Okay. Water project updates, your last?
I think Frank pretty much covered it all.
Wow.
Any
Jeez,
other
look at that.
questions?
The well stuff going on?
Yep, we'll
Staffing?
have the well contract for you by next meeting, so I don't,
Right. Yeah, I want to get that to
I'm
Mike.
sure everybody
Yeah.
watching at home wants an update on the treatment plant and how it's going.
the roof is going on right now.
You raising it?
Yes, physically.
And schedule-wise, still on schedule for?
So this has to do with how much water we can get out of the wells. So we're on schedule, assuming we can get enough water out of the wells.
Yeah.
If we can't, we'll probably get delayed about a month or so. So
Yeah, a lot of it's going to depend on how much well number 4, the first
Comes
well,
back.
comes back
Right.
after the cleaning. There's been some talk about changing and adding a third surge block to the process involved, along with the additional pipes that have been put in around the exterior of the screen for chemical cleaning, to see if they can speed the process. And that well's not going to hurt us that bad. It's 200 gallons a minute is all we get out of that well right now.
Okay.
It is
What's it rated for?
permitted for 5. We've never seen it come back to that extent since new. And when it was new, it ran, I believe the number we threw out today that Derek was talking was 4 or 5 years, and then it just got cut off at its knees. For whatever reason, it never comes back. So whether the gravel pack
You know what happened.
finally got clogged and that's all you get, hopefully possibly now putting the chemical on the exterior of the screen, you get a better chance of breaking up the chemical that may be attached, the iron and manganese that may be attached by the chemical, getting it further out to the gravel pack. It's,
Now, when they clean it, have they tried to use those beads yet? Have they tried to, those beads
I
that
do
they?
not know what they've used.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just
I
curious how it
know
worked out. I don't know what
they
it was.
did the freezing. I don't know, was that on well 4 or?
That was well
Okay. So
hydrofrac, I believe, is
Yeah,
what the term
they
was
tried
called.
that. Yeah,
Right.
Because we use something like that,
Aquafreed or,
Aquafreeze,
yeah.
That worked actually pretty well for us. in One of our wells.
It's, we find it's kind of a crapshoot. Sometimes it works
Sure.
great, sometimes it doesn't do anything
Right.
different,
Okay.
so.
I mean, even if the best case scenario and that comes back to 500, and the technology that's installed by putting the pilot wells on the external part of the screen, it's not going to work at wells 5 and 6, which are our biggest producers because they're in the building. So now you have to go through the floor. You know, basically you have to raise the roof if you're going to core drill through the floor. It's just not an option. So that's where we're going with the phase 1 and 2 from Weston and Sampson about looking for a new source within its relocation area.
Okay. Anybody else?
That's all I got.
Mr. Bishop,
Oh, that's all I got.
Mr. Rawhead?
Oh, where's it?
I think,
Oh,
I think we're good.
seat's got dust on it.
We have the next meeting at June 11th, and we're going to try for the library as a venue. Frank, will you at least authorize Rose or Nancy to check on that for us?
I will.
And after that, it's up in the air whether we're on for the 28th. I think that's tentatively where we are for the next meeting. And do I hear another
So-
motion?
Not the 28th, right, the 25th.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. 11 and 14
I'm
is still
just-
25. Okay. And would you like to make a motion at this point?
Yeah,
Mr. Bishop?
motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.